Shall we clarify where you do stand on transgender people? Just for the record, make it clear, and then we can perhaps talk about how Labour are currently tackling the issue.
Okay, so I think that it is important that we give transgender people space and dignity to live their lives as they wish. And the people who suffer from gender dysphoria, we have done everything we can to look after. But what is happening is that a lot of people are saying that, oh, we're trans too, when they're not, so that they can access women's spaces. It wasn't as big a problem when those laws were brought in. It is now. We're seeing it with men competing in women's sports, claiming to be trans, taking their medals. We're seeing rapists being put in women's prisons. They weren't women when they were raping. They suddenly become women when they need to get into a softer prison. And that's what we're trying to stop.
However, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up.
Okay, so there seems to be woke beef between British MP Kemi Badenoch and David Tennant, a Scottish actor. Kemi Badenoch is straight to the point. She doesn't play these games. She's going to tell you what a woman is. She's going to tell you that she's against woke. She's going to tell you that she's against, you know, all these ideologies that they're trying to push in school and educational institutions. And she's going to say it for how it is. And this sparked rage in the wokey David Tennant, because he was picking up an LGBTQ award. And then as he was picking it up, you know, he started to, you know, bash Kemi Badenoch because, you know, I say she was just using her logic. Plus, she wants to protect women's safe spaces, which is a good thing. But this wokey David Tennant won't understand that, and he couldn't care less about women's safe spaces because it doesn't affect him. So Kemi Badenoch is giving it to him straight. But anyway, let's watch the video and then we'll analyse at the end. So let's go.
This week I was joined by the Business Secretary, Kemi Badenoch, and this is what she had to say. Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much indeed for joining me in the studio today. Shall we start with talking about David Tennant and his comments at that LGBTQ plus award ceremony in the week? I mean, he said that you should shut up. He said that you should not exist. You then hit back at him on X, formerly known as Twitter. Clearly you were very angry about it. I was quite angry on your behalf, as I'm sure were most of the GB News audience. Do you think he should apologise to you personally?
I think he should. I think he's probably regretting making those remarks, given the uproar all across the country. It's had a lot of cut through, but it also shows the scale of the problem we have. I mean, what was even more extraordinary is that a Labour MP, Dawn Butler, doubled down and said, I agree with him. This is what's coming. I keep telling people that it's not just Keir Starmer that you're going to get when you get Labour. You're going to have all these MPs with very, very bad politics, really dangerous stuff, wishing another MP doesn't exist. I mean, that's dangerous. And Keir Starmer has refused to condemn her. But also him, West Streeting, Bridget Phillipson, they've all said, oh, well, she's entitled to her opinion. And if you remember how they reacted when there were comments which emerged several years later that had been made in private about Diane Abbott, we didn't stop hearing about it for well over a week, I think nearly 2 weeks. So it's one rule for them and another rule for everyone else. They don't really care about racism. They just care about their own people. And in the same way that they've tried to come after me, I won't let them. They will try and go after other people if we allow them into government.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate on one point. Obviously, when he stood up on stage, he didn't mention your colour. You then condemned him as a straight white man. Was it about race, or is that just the context of these kind of comments for you personally?
It's not about race at all. It's about showing that they are hypocrites. And it wasn't about him being white or, you know, I said he was a rich lefty white male. It's that they play identity politics and they have a ladder of who's up and who's a protected group. And by their own rules, in the same way as we've seen them in other circumstances, they criticize other people for going after black people, black women in particular. But when it's them, the rules suddenly change. And that's what I was highlighting. It doesn't have anything to do with his skin color. I don't judge skin color, but they do, except when they don't want it to matter, like in that instance.
Shall we clarify where you do stand on transgender people? Just for the record, make it clear, and then we can perhaps talk about how Labour are currently tackling the issue.
Okay, so I think that it is important that we give transgender people space and dignity to live their lives as they wish. And the people who suffer from gender dysphoria, we have done everything we can to look after. But what is happening is that a lot of people are saying that, oh, we're trans too, when they're not, so that they can access women's spaces. It wasn't as big a problem when those laws were brought in. It is now. We're seeing it with men competing in women's sports, claiming to be trans, taking their medals. We're seeing rapists being put in women's prisons. They weren't women when they were raping. They suddenly become women when they need to get into a softer prison.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to stop. So all of this is not really about trans people. It's about the people exploiting the rules which were there to protect the tiny, tiny number of people who are actually trans, and also rules which are there to protect women and children in particular. That is why we have the regulations that we do about how to get a gender certificate. What Labour's doing is saying, oh, these rules are so terrible, you have to speak to 2 doctors, how humiliating, we'll make sure it's only one. Which means it's easier for you to find, a helpful doctor. We've seen this on the private side as well. People going to Gender GP, a very discredited clinic, to get what it is they need, puberty blockers, etc. So we just want to put safeguards in place to protect women and children, but also to protect trans people as well. I've never said anything negative about trans people. They are the ones who put words in my mouth. They are the ones who carry out the toxic debate, as we saw with David Tennant, as we saw with Dawn Butler and other Labour MPs. And I will never be silenced by them. I will never stop fighting, because there are a lot of women out there who need someone to give them a voice. J.K. Rowling is an example of someone who's done that brilliantly, used her high profile to fight for other women. As the Minister for Women and Equalities, that is what I will always do, whether or not I have this job.
Although, is it disappointing that the Harry Potter author has said, I still can't countenance voting for Labour despite having previously supported them both as a voter but also financially, but she hasn't gone so far as to say, I will vote Tory, which might be disappointing to you because you've absolutely been on her side on this.
It's always disappointing if people won't vote Conservative. So that's obviously what I'm about. But you can't make people vote in a way that they don't want to. And this should not be a Tory issue. This should be a cross-party issue. And there are a few MPs like Rosie Duffield who are on the right side of history on this. The problem is that too many MPs on the left, in Labour, in the SNP, in Liberal Democrats, are just desperate for celebrities to notice them. Please, please, David Tennant, notice me. That's why Dawn Butler is tweeting. They are in politics for the wrong reasons, for show business, to be noticed. They're not there to help other people. That's why they don't care about the woman in a prison who's got a rapist, in her cell. Yes. They're not interested in that. They know that's never going to be them. We have to, as politicians, we've got to think about those people who aren't necessarily lucky to be in the same circumstances that we are.
Before I carry on, she's speaking a lot of facts. Even if you look at some of my previous videos, I speak about this. I speak about Nicola Sturgeon, who was leader in Scotland, and she was ready to start housing trans women with biological women. She was ready to start putting them into biological women's prison cells. Everyone was like, what? Have you gone that woke that you want to compromise our safety? And people are looking at this as absurd. How can biological women be in prison cells? And you're now going to start introducing trans women, and you're going to say, yep, you guys can live together. Like, is there no safeguarding in place in your administration or even in your mind? Common sense should be telling you that that shouldn't be happening. And she was ready to implement it. She was ready. People in Scotland were like, oh, hell no, you need to go. You need to go, man. This is dangerous. You are trying to make women live in the tyranny of men. And that's what she was trying to do. So, she's coming. She's like, listen, enough, man. Women want their safe spaces. It's just how it is. A woman doesn't want to finish the toilet, look in the mirror, she's putting on her makeup before she goes back out, and a 7-foot muscular man is just standing there. She's not going to feel comfortable, regardless of what the trans woman is thinking, regardless. Biological women are not going to feel comfortable standing next to a person who has a power over the situation and can do anything at any time, and she will be powerless to the situation. So we need common sense thinking And this is why someone like Kemi Badenoch is very important, because she's not going to be silenced by the establishment and she's going to say it for how it is. So, you know, much respect to her. Let's carry on.
The Shadow Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, has basically said that she thinks it's okay for a man who identifies as a woman to use a woman's toilet, even if he/she hasn't undergone any gender realignment surgery. What's your response to that?
So this was why we said that we were going to change the law to make it clear that Sex and the Equality Act is biological sex. She doesn't understand the issue. Many Labour MPs, I would say most of them, don't really understand what this is about, and they don't want to know. They don't want to know what's going on. They just want to sound nice so that their, you know, celebrity friends and so on, all the lovies will think that they're nice people. They're also confused about what the process is. Nobody asks you for a piece of paper or a certificate when you're going to the toilet. We all use sites to know who should be there and who shouldn't be there.
Yep.
What we're trying to prevent is people thinking that some men are allowed to be there if they say they're trans, when they are not.
Yes.
And it's so the paperwork is long after things have gone wrong, and then you go to court. But it's so that people who own those businesses, where they don't know what to do, know that the law is on their side if they are right. At the moment, they don't.
Has Keir Starmer been clear enough on this? I mean, we've had the conversation between him and Rosie Duffield. She said that only women can have a cervix. He said that's not right. He was then asked if women had penises. He said 99.9% of women don't.
It's just very confused.
Then there's the Tony Blair comment, women have vaginas, men have penises. He said he agreed with that.
I think he is very conflicted. He is all over the place on this. And people are all over the place when they don't have convictions and when they're just trying to tell people what they want to hear. That's what you see with Keir Starmer. That's why we call him flip-flop Starmer. And so what does this person want to hear? I will tell them that. And then you move to a different audience. And so you're all over the place. He has not rooted those comments in any conviction. And that's why I don't trust what he says. I don't trust what he says.
All right. So we see how unapologetic she is to protect women's safe spaces and to come with a common sense, logical approach to these issues. And now we're going to watch David Tennant, you know, as he's collecting an award, an LGBT award, what he says that stirred up social media in a firestorm. So let's watch it.
It is human decency. We shouldn't live in a world where that is worth remarking on. However, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up. Whilst we do live in this world, I am honoured to receive this. I'm thrilled to be here and to be a part of this night. Pride is very important in our house. It's a family affair. We have skin in the game. So this event tonight thrills me. It gives me hope, it gives me fire, it gives me energy and deep joy. And even if I feel I don't really deserve this, I'm very pleased and very proud to be receiving it. Thank you all so much.
It's very unfortunate that when dealing with the left-wing liberals, you cannot have no form of debate. You cannot come to the table and just, you know, state your differences and argue them. Instead, it has to resort to, I wish this person wasn't here, you know, and let's be honest, what he really means is, I wish she just disappeared. That's what he really means. You know, he'd rather see a world without her, let's just be honest. And that's what he means. And unfortunately, this is how a lot of the left see it. When you don't agree with them, you must be cancelled. Your life must be destroyed, which is a shame, because we should be able to debate certain issues. And this is a serious issue. It's not going to affect him, of course, but it's going to affect many women in the United Kingdom and even around the world. This is a global issue. And well, for the countries that's adopted this woke mentality, and he doesn't care, you know, it's not going to affect him. So what does he do? You know, he comes after her for just preaching what I'd say is just common sense. You know, I think most people watching this will look at what she said as literal common sense. So yeah, who's your enemy? The woman that's trying to protect women's safe spaces and she's just giving it to you straight, unapologetically, or a woke party in the Labour Party that's just kind of tiptoeing around the issue, not sure how to tackle it? Who's the real enemy of the people? You decide. Guys, comment, like, share, subscribe, do all of that, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.